Assalamualaikum everyone, I'm Siti Aisyah. We have decided to choose Dr. Ateef Yusof as our interviewee to be part of our assignment. First, has strong personality knowledge, values and ethics. Second, Dr. Ateef has a good skill and experience in teaching and influencing his team that what he is trying to achieve is very important for everyone.
Assalamualaikum Dr. Ateef, good morning. First foremost, thank you for your willingness to participate in our interview this morning for the purpose of leadership and interpersonal skills subject. So before we go further, I would like to introduce myself. My name is NURFAQIHah ROZI and here's my friend Nurul LIYANA binti ZULKIFLI. So we gotta say it's a privilege to have you in our today's session. For that, do you mind if you call you doctor?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Without wasting time, let's proceed to our main agenda. Actually, I have gone through and studied a little bit about the service that you handle via the website Bravuramind and then the Instagram. Based on my study, your center is most likely provides a counselling service, which puts a lot of stress on mental health care especially. So, maybe as a founder of Bravuramind, which is also a psychologist and expert in stress, anxiety and depression, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the establishment of Bravuramind, maybe in terms of when was this center being established?
Alright, so yeah, a very good question, but when we talk about establishment, of course, it's going to be cliche if I say, like others say, to establish a particular organization is never easy, yeah? There's a lot of hurdles, there's a lot of obstacles, yeah? So it started in 2018, but the idea came back when I was in undergraduate. When I was 21 years old, I already had this idea of having a center on my own. But at the time, there was a lot of constraint in terms of money, constraint in terms of time, because I was still working with people and there's no flexibility. So in 2017, I established, there's two founders actually, which is me, Dr. Ateef, and HUSSIN. Alright, we both found this Bravuramind and we started very small. In 2017, it was a very small center. It's not even a center, it's actually a space, a small space that we rented out, and based on certain funding, we managed to find a lot of some angel funder, and from there it's like a startup lah. If you study business, you know what is startup all about. So, and then it grows. In 2018 and 2019, we decided to somehow expand the business, and we moved from a 1,000, sorry, not even 1,000, I think a 700 square feet to a 2,000 square feet center. And now we could say that we have already established a team, where my place there's no boss, everyone is the boss, because everyone is a therapist, everyone is expert in different areas. So we have about 6 to 7 therapists working in one roof, and each of us, we have our own expertise. So until now we're still growing, and we're still hoping that to be honest, one of the biggest obstacles to establish the center was to have the mindset that how mental health is important in our country. And one of the objectives, or one of the focus that we have in our center, is actually to give affordable and accessible service. If you want to know, if you go out there are a lot of centers and psychological counseling center that is good, on par with us. It's just that the charges are quite high. For example, they charge per hour 300 to 400 per hour, but we charge about 40%, which is 150 per hour. So of course we are struggling with getting a lot of profit, but our priority would not be profit. Our priority would be the humanitarian principle, how we can help people. The more we can help, the more we are happy here, because most of us, we are attached to other organizations. So what we do in the center is actually to channel our expertise and to create more job opportunity. Doing this is just to pass the apprenticeship, which is important. You guys also have to learn from this. You have to make work. Apprenticeship is much more important than having money. What happened to the country now is because we are lacking in terms of apprenticeship. Older generations are superb, are skillful, but the younger generation are left out, right? That's how we establish then our objective, right?
Okay, I see.
Okay, Datuk, just now we have asked you with regard to the business background, isn't it? But it is not fair to only know your business background without knowing your personal background. So, could you mind to share with us a bit about your background in terms of where you originally come from, then a bit about your educational background maybe?
Sure, alright. So nothing to impress or nothing special. I have like you guys, I have a degree, but I'm from Shah Alam. I'm originally from Shah Alam, Selangor. I'm the youngest out of 3 siblings. My dad and mom are both working parents and they're very busy. And I'm a self-disciplined person. I'm very disciplined and I'm very firm when I say things. I do not change. If it's black, that's white, white. So it's important actually, I believe there are several things that is important in your life. The first is gratitude, second is discipline, and third is about humanitarian. For me, I always think that if you want to be happy, because at the end of the day, our journey is the ending. How's the ending of our life? So I always believe that if you want to have a happy ending, you make other souls happy around you. But a lot of people are very selfish and self-centered. That's why the world is now becoming like this. Because we're supposed to think about others. For example, even the rizki that you get is actually for you to share. But how many of us actually thought of sharing the rizki? But to be honest, the minute you get any rizki, you think, who should I share this rizki with? Trust me, that is my philosophy in my life. That's why I'm happy. And regarding my educational background, I went to a boarding school. I was earlier 13 years old, and then I moved to my alma mater would be UITM. I graduated from UITM, double degree at the age of 21. 21 I got my degree. Then I started working as a lecturer at the age of 21 years old. Alright, and then I was sponsored with a scholarship to further my master's degree. So my first master's was under Erasmus Mundus, alright, under University of Malaya. And then I finished in 9 months, my first master's. And then I thought that, having a master's by research was not sufficient. So I've decided to apply for another master's program. So the first one by research, the second one by thought courses, or I have a coursework. And then and I did that in UITM. I was fully sponsored by the government. So and then I was offered as a junior lecturer at the age of 23 years old. Alright, 23 years old, I did my master. So I started to become a lecturer. So I move around to get experience. I worked before with Management Science University. I worked before with UITM. I worked before with University Islam Antarabangsa. Before I actually moved to University Putra Malaysia. Right, professionally I'm a lecturer. And then at 25, I did my PhD studies and I finished at the age of 29. It was not that impressive, but I managed to finish on time. I always believe also in, it's not how you start the race, it's how you end the race. You can start very weak, but you finish strong. That is a promise that you make to yourself. Don't promise to your parents, don't promise to anyone, right? So that's basically my education background, right? So next question.
Alright, do you want to share with us what you really enjoy during your weekends, especially in your free time?
Alright, I love reading, I love cooking, and I'll find ways how do I help people. I always sit down reflecting on what else can I do within my capacity, because I always believe that everyone is the agent of change. Even though some people, they doubt themselves, they say I'm not rich, I am not smart, I'm not influential, how can I help people? But you are wrong, right? As simple as smiling to people, as simple as giving, like, I don't know, 5 ringgit 1 month to a person, it's actually becoming an agent of change already. Right? Let the change be small, but at least you have changed something. But there are people who try to change the world, they try to be Einstein, they want to do big things, right? Of course, we have idol, like, I idolize so much Ustaz Abilu for being very humane, of helping people, with unconditional love. But that is his capacity. But you always have to reflect on yourself. What's your capacity? So usually during weekend, you have a lot of time, especially you have the me time, at least 2 hours watching Netflix. I do watch Netflix, but I usually sleep in between the movies, or while I watch the movie, because I'm not a screen person. For me, not to say because I'm a lecturer I read, because I see that reading let me see the world, the bigger picture. And I travel a lot. I travel to more than 20 countries or 25 countries, especially during PKP and MCO. Yeah, you couldn't go anywhere. Why don't you pick a book and read? So if you ask me about my leisure time, I like to read, and I love children. So I have a lot of nephews. They are my little pumpkins. So I spend time with them, but because of MCO, I just call them every day to check out. Being the younger generation, you always have to believe that you have to try to help people. As simple as asking, in terms of their mental health. How are they? Are they depressed? Do they have food on the table? That's enough. That's what I do during weekends, actually.
I see. Okay, I think that's great. I can see that you have really spent your time wisely. So moving on to the next question, I will hand over to you.
Alright. So this question is very relates to one of our topics in leadership and interpersonal skills. Okay, we all have been noted that a good leader in the organization will not only create a better surroundings, better environments at the workplace among the colleagues, but it will also provide effective communications to one another. I have always believed to have a healthy surroundings at the workplace, it needs an efficient leadership style. So since you have been working as a lecturer and then you own the Bravuramind for almost 4 years, right? So maybe you could share to us what are the types of leadership styles that are adopted in your department.
For me, when we talk about leadership, I have my personal take in terms of leadership, where I believe that it has to be dynamic or eclectic. What I mean by eclectic is a mixture of leadership, because I know there's democracy, there's democratic kind of authoritarian, or they have a lot. For me, I believe that there will be a mixture of a bit of democracy. People have to also have their say, right? But I don't believe in dictatorship. I would never dictate. And then I believe also in sometimes putting trust and responsibility to my staff. For me, I want them to make decisions, because that's how I train them to develop their skills. Because in any organization, decision making or problem solving is one of the key component. When you work later, right, whatever you learn in class, right, has to be applied to your decision making and problem solving. How do you manage your time? How do you manage problems? So in terms of leadership, I think that I give them the chance or the autonomy to think. Of course, sometimes there are times that I have to be a little bit authoritarian, meaning to say I have to give instructions. Yeah, but most of the time it's democracy. And when it comes to university, I also give my students, I always tell them that everything has to be mutual. Respect is also mutual. I'm considered as a younger generation. I'm still in early 30s. So I found that when I give them the chance to think and make their own decision, my students become better. They have more maturity in terms of their thinking. And I always tell them failing is gaining. When you fail, actually you gain a lot of things. But don't fail twice at the same place. That is written actually in Quran and in Islam. You don't make the same mistake. At the same time also, I tell them, if you decide and there's something wrong with it, right, swallow, right, and learn from it. In terms of leadership, I always believe that the more I give them the chance to have the autonomy, to have the prerogative to think about or to move themselves, the better they become in the future. Of course, it's not some magic, in one day, like Harry Potter, suddenly one day I give them to make this decision and suddenly they become a better person. No, of course it takes a long time, at least few years for them to learn. Because I have my students, when I started teaching at the age of 21, up till now, I have about 1,500 or 1,800 students that I have graduated. And I see them growing. And for me, we have to train ourselves as a leader to see that if, let's say, staff that you train or your subordinate somehow become a bigger person than you should learn to be happy. Becoming the younger generation is about being happy about other success. You should be happy because later, a lot of good things will come into you. So in terms of leadership, I believe in giving them more opportunity, more democracy, more autonomy for them to think. But maybe 10% will be authoritarian. When things doesn't go or they cannot solve things, then I'll come in.
Alright, towards the end, what makes a good leader is actually someone who leads and lets others lead him So but still, to build and develop leadership styles, it goes back to the leader on how they want to design their colleague, and then in your situation on how you want to design your people in the center and as well as your students in the university, right?
Just now you have said that you had faced many obstacles, but back to when you were a student, are you an individual who actively seeks a niche challenge in order for you to develop your skills and then gain knowledge, or are you a person who passively avoids a difficult situation until they arise? Do you mind if you could recall a bit what was your biggest challenge at that time and how do you overcome?
That's a very interesting question, yeah. Of course, who I am now, right, partly because of the life I've gone through or the experience I've gone through when I was younger. I still remember when I was in high school, right, being so busy. I actually holds 9 presidents, 9 president posts at 1 year. I was the writer for the school magazine. I was the head of prefect. And when I moved to university, I just think that challenges or calculated risk somehow pump my adrenaline. Many times I get very excited, to hold a post, to be responsible. Then I was the debater for the university, right, until international level. And I found that these challenges somehow make me calm. After a certain period of time, I somehow noticed that I am calm facing challenges because of this, what we call risks or calculated risks that I took. Meaning to say, whatever comes to you, right, you know what to do. And I don't see there's any problem that we cannot solve. I'm always fast on my feet, and I'm always open to options, and I don't confine my thinking as long as I could find other options to solve a problem. So if you ask me, I prefer to take challenges. That's why I work and I do business at the same time. And copyright for Instagram, I used to write for famous people for their Instagrams. I took the challenge, even though I'm not a lady, but I took a challenge to write about scarves, and my writing was used, right? So I took the challenge. So now I know and understand how is it like a social media content writer. So that's why if my staff or people who work with me, they can give me no excuse because I've been there, done that. No excuse at all. If they say they're tired of working, I told them I've worked before more than this. I've worked 21 hours without sitting down. So that's it. Yeah.
I see. So meaning that you are the individual who are actively seeks challenges in your life. Okay, so moving on to the next question. As a psychologist and expert in anxiety, stress and depression, I'm pretty sure that you may have faced many challenges in your career. Especially in handling the one who is seeking help. What is one of the most challenges of holding this task, and how do you tackle those problems?
Wow, that's a big question because dealing with people with psychological issues is always challenging. They come with tailor-made issues or problems. Means each of them will come to me with different issues that I have to somehow prescribe different treatment plan. If you want to ask me what will be the biggest, it's actually the willpower, the willingness of you to change, becoming a bigger person. Regardless whatever problem or despite whatever problem you have, if you are able to become a bigger person, which is to have the willpower, you could change the world. So my biggest challenge facing this client, because they come with a lot of overthinking, they come with a lot of trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder. So I always see that for them, it's always a challenge for them to somehow be consistent or be disciplined with their own behavior and decision. That's why I always believe in discipline, because for you to deal with everyday's life, later when you grow up, you will notice that life is more blissful and life is more carefree when you were in college. If you ask me, the biggest challenge with my client or daily work is actually about dealing with people's willingness to change and emotion. Alright, because I understand you guys know that the emotion is very, very subjective and it fluctuates. Because usually I have my clients, if the clients are female, usually they come to me and cry. They cry and cry and cry. And sometimes there's also gender issue, right? Somehow can be also very challenging. Right? Because sometimes they project their anger, they project their unsatisfaction towards you. So that will be it, yeah, First is willpower, and second is emotion. That will be the biggest challenge.
Thank you, Doctor. Such a great explanation. Alright, I will hand over to Fakihah.
The last question lah, okay, for today's interview session. Okay, well, it is basically with regard to the future plans in terms of your career especially. So in your opinion, does the business or the center that you currently operate have any changes planned for the next few years, or maybe the important goals to be achieved within the next few years? So do you mind sharing?
Alright, if we talk about the center, I always have 5, 10, 15, 15. So of course, I plan to somehow, not to say I retire, but I want to rest, and I hope that in 5 years time, my therapists or the new therapists are ready to take my place, because I believe that in 5 years time, maybe 10 years time, I'm already 40s. I'm scared that there's no parentage or there's no protege that could somehow continue. Because if you want to know, in this particular field of psychology and counseling, people are start losing motivation. The younger generations are no longer interested to somehow further or pursue this career, just because it's not as lucrative, because it's all about money. Because now these people are very materialistic, so it's all about money. So of course, the change that I make, alright, of course I want to somehow make mental health more affordable and accessible. In a way, I want to have a satellite concept of center, where I have each district I have a small center, like a small station that people could somehow come and share their unfinished business and their mental health state. So therefore, the center would assess the HQ, right? And the satellite station would be like another branch. So it's easier so that people don't have to commute, or people don't have to what we call problems of going or transporting or financial. I really want to make it affordable, so I'm currently working with the government so that I can give free services, and the services are paid by the government. Alright, so that's my plan, for future.
Okay, so I guess you have come to the end of our session for today. Thank you for spending your time to be with us this morning. You have indirectly contributed in completing our assignment. But the least I could say is this is sure an unforgettable experience to be shared with you. Thank you once again for having us.
On my behalf, I'm also happy to be contributing to the younger generation's work or passion towards anything. That's what I could offer for now. Alright, so that's all from me. I hope you do your best. Remember, it's okay to start weak, but make sure you finish strong.
Thank you, Doctor. See you again. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.